Should you send your teenager to a wilderness therapy program? Well, let's talk about that today on Tips on Teens. My name is Kent Toussaint. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist, and I specialize in helping kids, teens, and families live happier lives. I lead two organizations, Teen Therapy Center and the nonprofit 501c3 organization, Child and Teen Counseling, both here in Woodland Hills, California. And every Wednesday at noon, I jump onto Facebook Live to answer your parenting questions. Let's answer today's. I'm considering sending my 15-year-old son to Adolescent Wilderness Therapy. He has a lot of trouble controlling his anger and is lashing out a lot. It's been getting worse over the last couple of years. We found out recently that he's been experimenting with drugs too. The idea of wilderness therapy really appeals to me. I don't want to do it though if it's not going to help, or if he'll just resent me for it. How do I decide if it's a good fit for my son? Thank you for your question. First of all, I want to acknowledge the discomfort and the fear and the anxiety any parent would be going through to be getting to this point of considering adolescent wilderness therapy. For some of you who don't know, what is adolescent wilderness therapy? Well, I'm going to explain it in a nutshell. It's basically your kid goes to, out of town, out of state, somewhere into kind of a long-term camping program. It's about 30 days to 120 days, roughly, where you're out in the wilderness with other youth at risk, with a group of counselors who are guiding you through learning survival skills, going on adventures, and just finding ways to build camaraderie and connection in hopes that there's more self-reflection and more honesty in who they are and understanding how they got to this point. And for some kids, it's really helpful and really effective. Some kids, it's not, and there's a few different reasons why this might be. First of all, if you're considering this, you want to make sure that you do your homework. There are companies that do the research all this for you, and they have all the statistics, whether the safety statistics, how their approaches to working with kids and all that stuff, and they can say, due to our research, we recommend one of these ones. You can also do the research on your own. There's a lot of information on Google that you can research to figure out what is best for you, to find out how to find the best fit. It's not cheap. Going to one of these referral sources is not cheap either, but you're already putting a bunch of money into this. It's a lot of money. It's not inexpensive. I don't think insurance usually covers these kinds of things. But do your homework, do your research. The thing is, if you send your son, or your daughter for that matter, to one of these places, and they're out, and will they resent you at first? Probably. I've heard many kids say this: I hate that you sent me there. I hate you for sending me there, but I'm glad you did. And so there's some ambivalence, because they do oftentimes grow. And many of the kids in my practice who've been in these situations have gone and they start out hating it. I'm going to be the rebel. You can't make me do anything. And as they get further in the program, they become more senior in the program, they start recognizing the benefits. They start opening up to other people. They see the new kids coming in and go, oh yeah, that was me. I'm not like that anymore. I'm more mature. I'm more wise. Have more insight now. So that's a positive. Here's the thing. When your kid is out in the wilderness and isolated from the drugs, the negative friends, the toxic relationships at home, whatever it may be, they're doing great. But eventually they have to transition back. Now there's a lot of different ways that can transition. Do they transition to a therapeutic boarding school? Do they transition back home and they're now in a partial hospitalization program, which means they go to group and treatment center for like 9 to 6 every day? Is it an IOP, an intensive outpatient program, where they go like 3 days a week for 3 hours at a time? Or are they coming back and just going into therapy? Whatever it is, you have to have a plan. Because if there's no plan, once they come back, they're going to fall into all those old habits, and all that money and time and effort and anguish will be for naught, and your kids will resent you for sending them. But if you have a real thoughtful therapeutic structure for them to come back to, they've got therapy, they've got activities, that they're busy with things that are positive in their life, healthy for their life, they're more likely to stay on that track instead of falling back into drugs or shoplifting or whatever it is they were into. You should be working with the Adolescent Wilderness Program to figure out what is that next step, or your family therapist, or your psychiatrist, or whatever. You should be working with some professional to help guide you on what is the structure your teenager needs, so they can transition back, and all that money and effort and anguish you had of sending them off to wilderness was worth it. And as if I see this, unfortunately, often where kids will go to wilderness or they'll go to treatment center and they have this amazing experience and they have this new focus on life, and they come back and there's no new structure and they go right back to where they were. So again, it's really important to have a plan, a real thoughtful, careful plan of what's going to happen when your kid comes back. Anyways, if it's right for you, your son or daughter, it's going to be up to you and your health professionals to decide that. But it is not an easy choice to make, and please make an informed choice. Anyways, that's our question for today. Again, my name is Kent Toussaint with Tips on Teens at Teen Therapy Center and Child and Teen Counseling. If you'd like your question answered here on Tips on Teens, email us at tipsonteens@teentherapycenter.com or direct message us right here on Facebook. We love your questions. Thank you so much. I'll see you next week. And I'm Kent Toussaint. Bye-bye.